This voice, the voice of a man condemned as a criminal, is to be heard for the first time. It was recorded 39 years ago in the visiting room of Sendai Jail. It's the voice of a man who survived nearly 40 years on death row. Sadamichi Hirasawa was on death row for the Teigin incident, a crime at the Imperial Bank. The incident occurred 55 years ago in 1948 in the midst of post-war chaos. Someone poisons 12 people, some of them bank clerks, at the Shinamachi branch of the Imperial Bank in Tokyo. Sadamichi Hirasawa is arrested 7 months after the incident. He is sentenced to death based on a confession he later retracted. Hirasawa continues to insist on his innocence while struggling with the fear of execution. All 18 of his requests for a new trial are rejected. Before his arrest, Hirasawa was a distinguished landscape painter hailing from Otaru, Hokkaido. In jail, he kept on painting, trying to clear his name with his paintings until his death at the age of 95. It has been 16 years since his death. The mortification Hirasawa felt remains in the pictures he left. Sadamichi Hirasawa sleeps in Otaru, on a hill overlooking the sea. This is Takehiko Hirasawa, age 44. Takehiko, the adopted son of Sadamichi Hirasawa, is still applying for a new trial. It has been 16 years since Hirasawa's death. Today is the 17th anniversary.
ずっと長い間独房で恋焦がれていた小樽の海ですね。この高台の平沢家の墓地から平沢は多分この景色をですね見つめているんだと思います。
Hirasawa was born in Tokyo in 1892 and moved to Hokkaido at the age of 5. The artistically gifted Hirasawa joined the art club of Otaru Junior High School, hoping to become a painter. His works from those days are stored in a safe at the school.
これが平沢さんの中学3年生の時の絵です。
An autumn landscape with 2 deer standing by a river. This is his earliest known work. It's said that he could paint better than his art teacher. In 1915, a painting of an Ainu woman by the 22-year-old Hirasawa took a prize at the Nikka exhibition. In those days, being chosen to participate in the exhibition guaranteed a great artistic future. Takeo Arashima, a famous author friend of Hirasawa's, praised Hirasawa's talent in a letter. Arashima described Hirasawa as a handsome young painter of genius. Hirasawa enjoyed painting Hokkaido landscapes.
彼の場合には風景画家としてこれは北海道が大きな影響が心の中にあったと思いますね。小樽から石狩ですね、札幌に行ってですね石狩の原野そういったものが彼の中にしっかりとイマジネーションとしてですね、定着していたと。
Hirasawa's paintings were chosen 16 times in a row to appear in the Imperial Academy's art exhibition, which is today's Japan Fine Arts exhibition. Known as a painter of the horizon, Hirasawa established a secure position in artistic circles. He married and was blessed with 5 children. However, an unexpected twist of fate awaited.
犯罪史上稀に見る大量毒殺事件と言われた帝銀事件が起こったのは昭和23年1月26日のことでした。この日3時半ごろ、東京都豊島区長崎の帝国銀行椎名町支店を訪れた44、5歳ぐらい白髪混じりの男が東京都の衛生員と名乗り、集まった行員に対し集団赤痢の予防薬を飲むようにと指図、行員一同が怪しみもせず飲んだところ、たちまちもがき苦しみ相次いで倒れるという事件が起こりました。
The man took 160,000 yen in cash and fled. 12 people, most of them bank clerks, were fatally poisoned by what was thought to be a cyanide compound. Hirasawa was arrested 7 months after the incident. His name came up during the investigation as he was known to have been given the same name card that was presented by the criminal at the bank. Suspicion deepened when he was found in possession of a large sum of money. The source was unknown, but it was known that his paintings were not selling well in the post-war Reconstruction period. Despite dogged interrogation by the police, Hirasawa denied his guilt. However, he suddenly made a confession 1 month after his arrest. The statement began by pointing out the absurdity of the charge. One problem was that I had no access to the armband and poison used by the robber. How could I kill people without them? It doesn't make sense. He later said the confession had been coerced, and he retracted everything once the first trial began.
私は捜査の中では完全に犯人にされております。しかし私は犯行は行っておりません。なぜ犯人でないのに犯人の自白をしたか、ご想像がつくと思います。
Despite pleading innocent, Hirasawa was sentenced to death in the first and second trials. In 1955, the Supreme Court dismissed his final appeal and reaffirmed his death sentence. On his copy of the decision of the death sentence, Hirasawa wrote notes contesting all the evidence cited until the papers were in tatters. How can this be evidence? It's nothing but malice.
偽造の調書でもって断罪していくっていうのはね、私はもっともがのことと思うんですね。自白っていうことそのものが、高木検事が私が一言も言わないものをですね、勝手に記録してですね、作文して、定員事件っていうものを答え上げてですよ、死刑にしていったら、どんな人間だって殺されるわけですよ。
It is said that Hirasawa was questioned by the public prosecutor for 2 days, October 8th and 9th, 1948, after his transfer to Tokyo jail from the Tokyo Police Department. The report describes the crime in detail. Although this was treated as decisive proof for the death sentence, Hirasawa insisted that he'd never been questioned. Even when Hirasawa was still alive, doubts clouded the authenticity of the report for these 2 days.
はい。
すいません、よろしくお願いします。はい。
Mr. Mutaguchi was a prison guard at Tokyo jail. Mutaguchi saw the cell journal kept on Hirasawa in 1959 when suspicions were raised about forgery of the Hirasawa report. The cell journal records the daily behavior of a condemned criminal. He made a written note that the journal for Hirasawa has no record of the 2 days, October 8th and 9th, when the public prosecutor was supposed to have questioned this prisoner.
その見ればすぐ分かるじゃんかと僕は思ったから見に行ったんですよ、休憩時間に。そしたらなかったんですよ。だから明らかにこれはね、証拠隠滅だって言って僕は中で騒いだんですよ。明らかに抜き取られてるっていう感じでしたね。このビって破ってそのままじゃないんですよ。完全に抜き取られてました。
If this is true, it is destruction of evidence. The jail made no statement concerning the existence of a cell journal. Life in a solitary prison cell. Waiting for the execution was day after day of despair. There was a note written in the Buddhist book that Hirasawa kept at hand. There are 31,536,000 seconds in a year. He faced death each and every second.
今朝も待つ死刑執行の言い渡し。
裁判しにいてその裁判の中では俺はやってないというやつでも夜帰ってきて寝てますとね、夜中に悲鳴を上げたりね、寝れなくなってくるんですよ。僕はよく割とその死刑囚と話をするようになりましたけど、だからお前言いたいことを言ってるけど現実にやってるじゃんか、夕べなんかひどかったぞお前の悲鳴はって言ったら、だってあんた死刑になると思えばね、必死で嘘でも言わなきゃしょうがないじゃんって、こういうようなことを言うんですけどね。
Hiroyuki Muraguchi, a former guard at Tokyo jail, often talked with Hirasawa when he was in charge of condemned criminals.
わめいたり叫んだりとか。
そういうこと平沢は一回もやりません。他のやつはね、夜中にねわめいたりね、飛び起きたりね、そういうことはもうしょっちゅうですよ。50何人いましたからね、その中にはもう自分が殺した人該当する死刑の、判決が近づいてきているとかね。平沢はもうとにかく気難しかったけれども変わらないんですよね。その日にちによって変わるとか事件の当日が来たからおかしくなるってことはないんですよ。一年中同じ生活をしてます。
灼熱の地獄に燃えず聞く香り。
Hirasawa sought solace in painting. It was also proof of his life as a painter. A prisoner in a solitary cell is not allowed to have even a single flower. Hirasawa kept painting pictures of flowers that did not exist.
極草に咲きたる花の清さかな。明月の光に清し鉄格子。
Hirasawa's family suffered from its association with a vicious criminal. People threw rocks at their house in the Nakano ward of Tokyo and peeped through knotholes in the walls. Hirasawa's eldest daughter once visited him in jail. She was surrounded by newspaper reporters and never visited again.
毛布持ってね、そして行ったんだけどもさ、中へ入ることもできないんです。
顔がそっくりだからね。
人がいっぱいで。
一番古いのは昭和30年頃ですか。ちょうど私が成人式迎えた時の手紙が、これが第一号ですよね。もうハム震えながらね、感激でしたよ。
Toshio Ishii had some doubts about the Teigin incident and began to write to Hirasawa immediately after the death penalty was instituted.
これはがき5円、封書が10円。ね、こうやっていきましょう。
They exchanged more than 1,500 letters and cards in the more than 30 years until Hirasawa died.
これは結婚した時、私が結婚した時に。
When Mr. Ishii decided to get married 3 years after the death sentence had been announced, Hirasawa sent him a painting of a chrysanthemum as a wedding gift.
でもね、なんか暗かったですね、これ。
暗いですね。
暗いですよ、この絵は。なんか寂しそうな。白菊の清さ、いやます君がさち。精一杯の贈り物だったんでしょうね。平沢じいちゃんは我に対して。
The chrysanthemum was painted on slightly stained drawing paper, probably because there weren't enough painting materials in the jail.
私はもうじいちゃん前文通しなかったり営業を切ったら死んじゃうと思いましたよ、あの中で寂しくて。
Hirasawa seldom painted portraits. He was all alone in the solitary cell. A portrait of his eldest daughter was entitled Girl in Mist. More than 10 years had passed after his arrest, and he could barely recall the shape of her face. While Hirasawa was facing death, Japan was entering its post-war period of high growth. In the outside world, the Society to Save Sadamichi Hirasawa was formed in 1962 by writer Seicho Matsumoto and journalist Tetsuro Morikawa, who took notice of Hirasawa's claim of innocence. Hirasawa heard the news and wrote a 31-syllable tanka poem.
罪なきに死刑とされし、嬉しさや人の心の情け知られて。
5 months later, however, Hirasawa was transferred from Tokyo jail to Sendai jail, which had a gallows. This meant execution could not be far off. Hirasawa wrote in his notebook, "Look at yourself. It serves you right. Sadamichi Hirasawa is dead. He has certainly turned to ashes. He's no longer here, even if he wanted to see him."
一番大事な基本的人権っていうものをことで生命を絶つっていうことをですね、審査してくれっていうことを最高裁に申し出てもですね、最高裁は全然認められないっていうだけなんですよ、今まで。一つも支持してないんです。そして非常に私今の命っていうものは大事だと思ってる。 国民全体の災害を除くのが私の今の使命ですから、そのための私は命だと思ってますよ。そこまで言ってることは死が怖くないんですよ、絶対。死の怖くないってことでお前生きてるだけでも。そんな卑怯な話じゃないですよ。
Tetsuo Takazawa, a member of the Council for the Defense, witnessed Hirasawa's determination in the prison visiting room.
平沢さん自身から、もし今ここに死刑これから執行するんだというようなことを言ってきたら、私は舌を噛み切って死にますって言うんですよ。でまあそれを聞いてどう反応していいのか、その戸惑いを感じましたよね。そういうことも何度かありました。
While struggling against the fear of death, Hirasawa spent more than 10 years writing thousands of words in his appeals for a retrial. All were rejected.
仙台、私母と2人でね、警察に呼ばれて行ったんですけどね、とにかくもうどこへ出るにしたってもう嗅ぎつかれちゃうから、だから仙台にもずいぶん行くことあったんですけどもね、だけどもあれには行けませんでしたね。
The husband crouches behind iron bars. The wife holds a baby. Hirasawa painted his own situation.
独房も夜のみ嬉しまことなる妻子と共に夢で語れば。
In 1974, Hirasawa was shocked to hear that 2 condemned criminals who had pleaded innocent had been executed at his jail. 5 months later, Hirasawa was felled by a heart attack. In critical condition, he was transferred to Tohoku University Hospital. Hirasawa was 82 years old. It was an ironic way out of jail for the first time in 26 years. Cheating death, Hirasawa recovered miraculously and returned to Sendai jail a month and a half later. The hospital was worse than the jail. I didn't have the freedom of painting pictures. I came back because I wanted to paint again. Hirasawa began to paint again, using a corner of the cell as his studio. Hirasawa had a dream. He dreamed of painting 100 views of Mount Fuji. Mount Fuji remains calm, even when the clouds are turbulent. Hirasawa identified with Mount Fuji. It took him 15 years to paint the 100 pictures. Outside the jail, however, the works of Hirasawa were reviled as the paintings of a condemned criminal. An art collector living in Sapporo acquired a picture 20 years ago.
これがその絵です。
It's a work entitled Spring is Near, which was displayed at the Second Imperial Academy Art Exhibition in 1921 and was just shy of winning the top honors. It shows a panoramic view of the Ishikari Plains seen from a hilltop near Otaru. It was said to be Hirasawa's favorite. But Hirasawa's signature, which should be at the lower left, is barely visible.
絵の他の部分はそれほど傷んでおりませんから、
だからこれは明らかにそこだけをこすって消したんでしょうね。彼が敵事件の被告としてね、もう扱われてましたから、そういうことはあり得るなと思いましたね。
This is an album in which Hirasawa stuck postcard prints of his masterpieces and newspaper clippings. Of the 100-some original pictures, fewer than 10% have been found. Takehiko Hirasawa is the eldest son of the late Tetsuro Morikawa, who was a leading figure in the Society to Save Sadamichi Hirasawa. He took the family name of Hirasawa so that he could keep applying for a retrial after Sadamichi Hirasawa's death. He's also been looking for missing Hirasawa paintings for more than 10 years. He found a landscape of Sendai that Hirasawa painted just after the war.
本当に明るい絵ですよね。まさか、その数年後にですね、帝銀事件死刑囚として鉄格子のあるところにですね、行くとは平沢は思いもよらぬ頃だったと思いますね。
Takehiko has found about 170 works. He's also been trying to restore Hirasawa's reputation as a painter by shining a spotlight on works that history has condemned to obscurity. Otaru, Hirasawa's hometown. Here, 3 years ago, Takehiko came across a work that he hopes will be the key to a new trial. It was new evidence, unearthed half a century after the incident. It is a picture scroll entitled 12 Months of Secret Pictures. An ukiyo-e of a man and a woman is painted for each month. They're erotic pictures. Takehiko noticed the first picture, which features plum and pine trees. It is painted in tempera, Hirasawa's preferred medium.
現に私の父はね、本当に真面目な顔をしてね、魔除けだから稽古に入れておけよと、こう言って私に渡してくれたんで。
In the old days, it was customary for businessmen to keep erotic art for good fortune. A painting by a top artist could go for 100,000 yen, the equivalent of 6 million yen today. Hirasawa was well known as an artist by Otaru businessmen in those days. It is not surprising that some businessmen commissioned erotic paintings from Hirasawa. So how does the picture relate to the Teigin incident?
事件直後に、10万円余りのお金を持ってたと、それが疑惑を深めた理由だったんですよね。
It was eventually regarded as the bank loot, evidence that led to his arrest and death sentence. If he had been earning money from erotic paintings, this large sum could be explained. Did Hirasawa paint these erotic pictures? Takehiko has asked art critic Yoshie Yoshida to appraise them. Yoshida also takes notice of the first painting of plum trees. The buds are in a style similar to that of plums painted by Hirasawa before his arrest.
これですね。これは同じ描き方ですね。赤をやって、その上にポタンと墨を置くんですね。このね、この描き方は似てますね。
どなたでも描かれるものなんですかね。